Gotta keep y'all bills on, because I told y'all a week ago Tommy Reese was finna be gone. Well, it looked like reports is starting to come out of Cleveland that Tommy Reese is expected to be leaving possibly within the next 48 hours. He will be heading down to Atlanta with former Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski. Now, I think this is just a great deal. You know, let's just rebuild this entire thing, bro. I feel like, you know, no hard feelings should be lost. Tommy Reese, he was part of the sabotaging too, bro. I just got to be honest. Ian Rapoport has reported this right now.
So I think we did see a lot of flashes from Sanders. Deep balls that we didn't see all year long. Extending of plays. Evading pressure that was put in his face. Rushing yards. Plays with his legs. Getting out of sacks. Third down, he'll get the first down himself. Leading the team in rushing. We didn't have a run game to support him in his starts. We didn't have an offensive line to support him. We didn't have receivers. Injuries up the wazoo. Third string offensive lineman. Consider the situation. And by the way, a head coach that never wanted him to start and put him in situations to try to be a game manager. A lot of the deep plays were Shedeur going off schedule and making them himself. Stefanski, I think, is holding him back. Stefanski, I think, was trying to play it safe, which I get because of how bad the O-line is, but that's not Shedeur Sanders. He wants to make the play.
What's happening, everyone? The Cleveland Browns just dropped a bomb that's about to change everything for Shedeur Sanders. Tommy Reese is officially gone, headed to Atlanta with Kevin Stefanski, and now the entire Browns organization is in full rebuild mode. But here's the twist nobody saw coming. Former Super Bowl champion Mike Martz just declared on live TV that he'd take the Cleveland job in a heartbeat and thinks he can solve their quarterback problem. Could this be the moment that changes Shedeur's entire future? Because what Mike Martz said next about Sanders is absolutely wild.
Has reported this right now, man, about 30 minutes ago. It stated here that the Falcons are expected to hire former Browns OC Tommy Reese as the new OC for Coach Kevin Stefanski. Sources say the favorite along Reese now lands in Atlanta. So y'all know the Atlanta fans gonna be talking about this. Falcon fans, you're in hell. I'm sorry. Somebody else said Falcons expect to hire Browns OC.
Let me break this down for you because the timing of all this is insane. Just when everyone thought the Browns situation couldn't get more chaotic, Ian Rapoport confirmed about 30 minutes ago that the Atlanta Falcons are expected to hire Tommy Reese as their new offensive coordinator. This isn't just some rumor. This is happening within the next 48 hours. Reese is packing his bags and following Kevin Stefanski down to Atlanta, leaving Cleveland scrambling to find not just a head coach, but an offensive coordinator too. Now, here's what makes this situation so fascinating. Tommy Reese was highly thought of in Cleveland, but let's be real, the results didn't show it. The offense struggled, the play calling was questionable, and there were too many games where you had to wonder what was actually happening on that field. So maybe this fresh start is exactly what Cleveland needs. No hard feelings, but sometimes you just need to rebuild the entire operation from scratch. Jimmy Haslam has his hands full right now, and he's not hiding it. He came out publicly saying the next 120 days are going to be something special. Think about what that means. A new head coach, a new offensive coordinator, possibly a new quarterback. This is a complete organizational reset. And in the middle of all this chaos, Shedeur Sanders' name keeps coming up like it's written in the stars. But wait, it gets even crazier. Reports are now coming out from the Schwartz report that Jim Schwartz might actually be out of the head coaching conversation. Instead, they're looking at younger candidates like Jaguars offensive coordinator Grant Udinski and Browns passing game coordinator Nate Skelhez as finalists for the job. These are guys who some people think are a year or two away from being truly ready for head coaching positions, but Cleveland might be willing to take that gamble. And honestly, I'm all for it. Young coaches bring something different to the table. When you hire an old coach, you know exactly what you're getting. You know their style, their tendencies, how they're going to handle situations. There's no mystery. But with young coaches, there's an element of surprise that can completely change the game. They bring fresh ideas, modern offensive schemes, and they're not stuck in old school thinking. Sometimes that's exactly what a franchise needs to break through.
I would take the Cleveland job in a heartbeat.
Good answer here. Good answer here. Why?
No, and I mean that because I think the challenge of coming in, I think that they're hungry to win, which is awesome. Kind of like when we came to St. Louis here. They just you need to change the culture, and I think he started that. Kevin started that, and I think I could, I think I could solve that quarterback problem. I don't think that's hard.
Please tell us.
You just select the right. You just need to pick the right guy, and maybe they have him. Maybe Sanders is the guy. I don't know.
But here's where everything gets absolutely insane. Mike Martz, the offensive genius who coached the greatest show on turf, the man who faced off against Tom Brady in his first Super Bowl, sat down for an interview and dropped some knowledge that everyone needs to hear. When asked what makes a coach hireable and the right fit for a team, Martz didn't hold back. He said the biggest issue is leadership and being able to give that organization a clear direction. You need to come in, instill that direction, and hold everybody accountable to it. But leadership alone isn't enough. You also need high football acumen, a deep understanding of the game on both sides of the ball. And according to Martz, only about 80% of the coaches out there can actually check that box. He pointed to guys like Sean McVay in Los Angeles and the young coaches in Chicago who have both elite leadership and high football intelligence. But then he said something that caught everyone off guard. He thinks Jim Schwartz fits that description perfectly. Schwartz has the experience, he's learned from his mistakes, and his players play for him at a high level. You can see it in the details of how his guys play. Everything is coached up to perfection. But then the conversation shifted to Sean McDermott getting fired from Buffalo, and Martz didn't hold back. He called it a political battle, where McDermott lost out to the general manager. And here's the thing, Buffalo has arguably the best quarterback in the league right now in Josh Allen, but they didn't surround him with the right weapons. Martz compared it to having a brand new Mercedes with no tires. All that power and potential means nothing if you don't have the pieces around it. So when the interviewer asked Martz which of the 6 open head coaching jobs is most desirable, his answer shocked everyone. Without hesitation, he said he'd take the Cleveland job in a heartbeat. Not Chicago, not the Raiders, not any of the other openings, Cleveland. And when they asked him why, his reasoning was absolutely brilliant. Martz said Cleveland is hungry to win, just like St. Louis was when he took over there. The culture needs to change, and Kevin Stefanski started that process. But here's the kicker. Martz thinks he could solve the quarterback problem, and he doesn't think it's that hard. You just need to select the right guy, pick the right player who fits your system. And then he said the words that sent shockwaves through the football world. Maybe Sanders is the guy. Think about what that means coming from Mike Martz. This is a man who worked with Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk, Torrey Holt, and Isaac Bruce. He built the greatest show on turf, one of the most explosive offenses in NFL history. He knows what elite quarterback play looks like, and he's saying maybe Shedeur Sanders is that guy. That's not just some hot take from a talking head. That's a Super Bowl champion offensive genius putting his stamp of approval on Shedeur.
In my mind. And I just think if you get that team to win and get them into the playoffs, that town would just go crazy.
Congratulations, you just got the job.
Yeah, you're hired.
We have 2 offices for you. Kevin had 2. You can have a 3rd office in the building if you want. How's that sound? That's
years ago, but I kind of coveted that job for a long time.
Now,
so that was head coach Mike Martz, man. Offensive genius Mike Martz, bruh. I think he's retired, but it sounds like he might want to come back, bruh.
Now imagine this scenario. Cleveland hires a young, innovative head coach who brings a fresh perspective. They bring in an offensive coordinator who understands modern football and how to maximize a quarterback's talents. And then they draft Shedeur Sanders, a guy who's been trained his entire life by one of the best corners to ever play the game, who has the poise, accuracy, and football IQ that you can't teach. Shedeur has been breaking records at Colorado, showing the kind of composure under pressure that makes scouts salivate. He's not just another college quarterback with a big arm. He's a student of the game who understands defenses, can make every throw, and has the mental toughness to handle the pressure of being an NFL quarterback. And if Mike Martz thinks he could work with that, you better believe other coaches are thinking the same thing. The Browns have all the pieces to make this work. They've got a solid defense, playmakers on offense, and now they're about to get a clean slate with new coaching. If they nail this hire and bring in the right quarterback, Cleveland could go from laughingstock to legitimate contender in one offseason. That's not exaggeration. That's what happens when you get the quarterback position right in today's NFL. And let's not forget the pressure on Jimmy Haslam. This isn't just another coaching search. This is potentially franchise-altering. The fans are tired of losing, tired of false hope, tired of watching other teams succeed while Cleveland struggles. They need someone who can come in and change the entire culture, someone who believes in a clear vision and has the football knowledge to execute it. That's why Martz's comments hit so hard. He's not just saying he'd take the job, he's saying he knows exactly how to fix it. Change the culture, solve the quarterback problem, get the right pieces around that quarterback, and watch Cleveland go absolutely crazy when they finally make the playoffs and start winning meaningful games. The next few weeks are going to be absolutely critical for the Browns. Every decision matters. Who they hire as head coach, who becomes the offensive coordinator, and ultimately who they select as their franchise quarterback. These aren't just important decisions. They're potentially generational decisions that will define this organization for the next decade. Shedeur Sanders has to be watching all of this unfold and thinking about what his future could look like. Does he want to go to a team that's stable but has a lower ceiling? Or does he want to go somewhere like Cleveland where there's risk but also massive upside if everything clicks? Because if the Browns get this right, if they hire the right coach and build around Shedeur the way Martz is talking about, we could be looking at the next great quarterback-coach combination in the NFL. The football world is watching Cleveland right now, and everyone's waiting to see what happens next. Will they go young and bold with their coaching hire? Will they take a chance on Shedeur Sanders? Can they actually turn this franchise around after decades of disappointment? Based on what Mike Martz just said, he believes they can. And if a Super Bowl champion offensive genius believes in that vision, maybe it's time everyone else starts believing too. Smash that like button if you think Shedeur Sanders should be a Cleveland Brown. Bingo, subscribe, and turn on notifications for instant Browns and NFL draft updates.